Tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai haere mai, and greetings to you and welcome to the TRK AUSA debate. Kia ora, I'm Neil and I will be one of your debate moderators for this session.
Kia ora, I'm Jessica and I am the other debate moderator.
Awesome. In this online session, you'll hear directly from the student candidates standing in this year's election to represent you at the University of Auckland. This is your opportunity to learn more about the candidates, their policies, and the priorities that could shape student life in the year to come. Throughout the debate, candidates will share their key issues and the context behind their campaigns. We'll finish with a quick fire round, and you'll see the candidates' skills, qualities, and experience put to the test for the position they're seeking. The debate rules on this session are: each candidate will be given 1 minute to answer the moderator's questions. Follow-up questions may be asked with 30 seconds to respond. Moderators will keep time and ensure rules are followed. Only the candidate being addressed should respond to a question. Candidates must uphold the university's zero-tolerance policy on bullying, harassment, and discrimination at all times during this session. Candidates must not interrupt the moderator or another candidate while they are speaking. Now that we've covered the rules, let's meet our candidates.
So the first question is very introductory. Just can you please introduce yourself, talk about your past experiences, and talk about some of your aspirations for your role next year?
Cool. Who would you like to go first? Cool. Kia ora, my name is Josiah. I am a third-year sociology and statistics student. I'm a socialist. I am an activist. I've been involved in the Palestine movement here in Tamaki Makaurau. I am involved in organising on campus with the International Socialist Organisation. Is that sufficient? Yep.
Could you speak a little bit on your aspirations for your role next year?
Yep. So I think the most important thing, the most pressing thing to students at the moment is the quality of life that we live. Students experience significant poverty. Students experience significant hardship in relation to the cost of rentals, in relation to the cost of goods. We are in a country that is crawling out of a recession, and students are ignored, are not listened to. So my campaign will be about building a student movement to push back against essentially government inaction, to bring students together so we can work together in a movement which is...
Thank you, candidate. Your time is up.
1 minute, yep.
Cool. And we'll move to the next candidate.
Kia ora, my name is Matthew. I'm the current Undergraduate Education Vice President at Te Raupu Kaikatea AUSA, and I'm really excited to be rerunning for my position this year. I've really had the privilege of a lifetime to be able to be in this position, to be representing students. So a bit about my aspirations for next year. I want to continue the student voice initiatives that we've been doing this year, and I want to continue addressing the barriers to education. Those are the two things that I'm most passionate about. We're all students, so we get to university, we want to have quality education, but I also want to address the barriers to getting to that education in the first place. And also student voice is another key part of my current job, and that's another part that I want to continue working in, is making sure that as students we have a voice that is heard not just within the university, but across the country as well.
Awesome, thank you so much. Moving on to our second section, important issues around the university. What do you see as the single most urgent challenge affecting students in relation to your role, and why? Matthew?
Yeah, very good question. One of the biggest issues that I've been dealing with this year, and I'm sure I will continue, whoever will have this position will continue to deal with next year, is artificial intelligence. AI is one of the biggest topics around the table at the moment, and it's how it's going to change the way that we see education. And I'm really glad to be able to have been a part of the group that's written the university's action plan around AI, and that's really taking a step towards embracing the rise of AI and just recognizing the fact that AI is here, and that as students we need to learn how to use AI so that we could be better graduates and better students. So I definitely think that's one of the biggest things that we're facing. Yeah.
Thank you. And to follow up, we recognize the prominent issue of AI, but how can we include that into our student life?
Yeah, really good question. So obviously as students we're here to learn, and we're here as the university's responsibility really is to make sure that we're receiving quality education. When we graduate from Waipapa to Mataura, we are good graduates. And so in terms of the way that we go about education every day as students, AI is very accessible nowadays. It's very easy to use AI in our education, our assessments. But I think one of the biggest issues is students don't really understand what the policies are around academic integrity and when or how we're allowed to use AI. So that's something that I really plan to address is having clear guidelines around AI so that students can go about their day-to-day life not having to worry about whether they're doing the right thing or not.
And you spoke about your action plan. What steps have you taken to include AI in student life beyond that action plan?
Yeah, really good question. So right now I'm heading the AI subcommittee, which is a subcommittee of the AUSA Student Council. And that includes faculty representatives, but also students from across the university life. Something that we want to do beyond the action plan is to start to hold a lot of different events and workshops for students around different faculties and different communities, not just to hear what they have to say about the work that we're doing, how AI is impacting their life, but also to try and find solutions together. Thank you.
Moving on to Josiah. Do you agree that AI is the most pressing, the most urgent challenge affecting students in relation to your role?
No.
And what do you think is?
I think there's a lot of things that, obviously, as an undergraduate vice president, it is our job to represent students, both academically, but I think more importantly, and what this position fundamentally has been lacking for a very, very long time is politically. Students, I'll reiterate, actually, I've got some statistics here. So, for example, students spend 55% of their income on rent. 15% of rentals in this country are mouldy, are cold, are overcrowded that students live in. I see these as the most pressing issues that are affecting students, that are affecting their ability to be in study, especially students from working class families. These are the problems that have to be addressed, that have to be answered. I think there are, for example, rentals in this city that the university may own that may be going unoccupied, right? There are statistics on student homelessness, on being unhoused.
Thank you, candidate. Your time is up. And to follow up on your statement, the position is clearly outlining on the academic side of the university. And so how do you plan to address those issues within this position you're running for?
So I believe that being a student does not just mean being focusing on academics. It actually encompasses the whole problem of being a student. And to treat this, the issues that arise out of being a student as simply starting at the academic place and stopping there does a disservice to the lives that students actually live. There is significant hardship that has to be addressed. The only way to address that is by working together as students to, for example, hold the whole of AUSA to... Yep. Okay.
Kind of just to follow up on that, because the role outline of the Education Vice President for undergraduates is focused on that academic area, do you feel like you would have to change the, position description to advocate for what you are wanting to do?
Well, as I understand yesterday that Mauricio was actually talking about was these are not set in stone parameters for these positions. This is the bare minimum. And in fact, I don't think doing the bare minimum is what it means to be a good student advocate. I don't think that just addressing the academic concerns students have, that is a start. That is not the point where you stop. The point where you stop is fighting for student voice in every conceivable way and fighting for student representation from the bottom up.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to our next question.
We'll continue back on Josiah. With bureaucracy often undermining student input in curriculum changes, how will you guarantee that consultation leads to real change, not just empty gestures?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that vitally consultation is insufficient, right? Like the university essentially, well, I wouldn't even say they necessarily give us money. I think AUSA gives, we are selling ourselves to the university and they are buying from us our input as students. They are buying from us an electoral mandate that only about 12% of students have given us anyway. So this position is not representative of students. This position is not representative of 88% of students on this campus. to be representative of students on this campus, it requires student input, not input from myself in this position, which is why in this position it's important for me to be building the network, building a movement for students so they can hold AUSA accountable, so they can hold the university accountable, so they can actually fight for the things that they are interested in.
How will you, I guess, in that capacity, gain broader student input? Do you have any concrete steps in place?
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, and I think something that AUSA has to start doing, something that I do as an organizer at the ISO, is regular meetings, regular public meetings that everyone can come to, that everyone is invited to. Secondly, it would be actually reaching out and going to the clubs, to student classrooms, and inviting people and listening to their stories and listening to what they have to say about what's important to them.
But I guess my point is that has been something that has been happening over the years from AUSA reaching out to these students. But if students don't turn up, what is the solution to that?
Well, a movement like this, or a student movement, it's not like an on and off switch. It's not just you flip the button, and it's possibly why there's such low participation in these elections, right? Is because students are depoliticized. Students see what's going on, and they don't see their issues being addressed. And so, fundamentally, building as a socialist, building socialism, what that actually means is building.
Thank you, candidate. Your
Oh,
time
is
up.
that a minute? Okay. Yeah.
Matthew?
Same question?
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
With bureaucracy often undermining student input in curriculum changes, how will you guarantee that consultation leads to real change, not just empty gestures?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to echo what you said, Josiah. This role obviously aims to represent all students, but it is not possible to represent every 47,000 students on campus. It's really important for AUSA to be reaching out to those communities and to hearing what they have to say. But I think your point, Jessica, is really right, is what happens when those people don't show up? How do we actually go out to the communities when, we're not actually putting anything out there that's interesting to them to be consulted with. So currently, what we do is we have layers of consultation where we take initiatives from AUSA and from the university, mainly through obviously the executive, which includes different portfolios from different communities, through to student council and through the class rep program. Something that I really want to do is look at that structure again and see, actually, is this structure really reaching out to all the communities?
Thank you, candidate. Your time is up.
I guess that kind of question is, how effective do you think the student rep system is currently in terms of getting student feedback? And do you think that really represents the views of all students?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's working for what it needs to do right now. We're reaching different faculties, different schools, different departments, different communities through student council, through the executive, and through class reps. But it can definitely go so much further. If we're talking things like at the start of the year, we had the university had the proposal to merge the law and business faculties. What we did was we encouraged everyone to get involved with their submission process, but we also ran our own consultation processes to hear what students want us to be advocating for. We did an informative session so that people.
Thank you,
understood.
candidate. Your time is up. And just to follow up as well, what are your plans for the change?
To change that structure? Yes. Yeah, I think something that I've looked at this year is actually how can we use the class rep program a bit more. Class reps is obviously our most direct line to groups of students. Currently, every class right now has at least one, but two or sometimes even more than two class reps. And I think actually using that system to reach out to individual students to hear from what they have to say is really important as well. So that we could be adding that to our structure of consultation to make sure that students individually can get involved with that process.
Okay,
Thank
you.
Yeah, we'll go back to Josiah, and we're now going to move to section 3, which is going to focus a lot on your policy and perhaps past experience as well. Yeah. Which key stakeholder would you be working with for your policies around student voice?
What do you mean by which key stakeholder? Can you define stakeholder?
Stakeholders would be in groups that are involved with your policies around student voice. That could be Mauricio, the student voice manager, and etc.
So the people that you think you would have to engage with to make this change actionable.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and actually this is something that I also strongly am for, is making this class rep system a genuine and serious political role, right? Because at the moment, it's actually, it actually is meaningless. It has almost no purpose. There is no serious electoral process. A lot of the times it's, okay, who's interested in being a class rep? Someone sticks their hands up, lecturer chooses. Where is the student representation there, you know? Where is the democratic decision making? Where is the collective decision? All students are saying, I support that person representing me in this class, and I'm going to work to give them the information they need in order to talk about what things are like on the shop floor, on the most base level of the university. I mean, there's so many layers to this system. It really is a bureaucratic nightmare. You know, there's the student consultative groups. There's all the student associations.
Thank you, candidate. Your time is up.
I will just follow up with that student reps are voluntary positions. So my question is, you're saying that it's not representative of the student body, but students volunteer their own time to be able to give feedback and to collect feedback from the class. So I guess how would you make it more democratic in that sense?
Yeah, well, it should actually be an elected position within a class. I mean, that's a whole, essentially what, like 3 or 4 months of your time that's being dedicated to representing your class to AUSA. You know, if we're serious about collecting student voice, we should be serious about student democracy. We should be serious about student inclusion.
But I guess the issue is that not many students are willing to volunteer their time for this position, which leads to the fact that there is no election. So I guess how would you combat that?
Yeah, well, it's why there's, like, unfortunately, a 30-second reply just isn't enough time to fully address this. But it is a problem that students see what is going on around us today. They see the fact that there's almost, the fear of AI, the unemployment around us, the fact that almost 20 or 30% of young people are unemployed these days. They look at all these facts, the cost of housing, the cost of living in general, and they are depoliticized because of these things. They actually remove themselves from fighting back and from...
Thank you, candidate.
Yeah.
Time is up. And we'll move to another question. So how do you feasibly aim to recycle textbooks?
Yeah. So that's a good question. Because UBIC is shutting down and there's actually, serious financial... I know that some presidents have made the promise that, we'll save UBIC. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, so I'm looking at this pragmatically. How can we make sure students still have the textbooks they need? If AUSA, for example, were to... students come in with textbooks, AUSA buys them back at a reduced cost, and then students come in and buy those back off of AUSA. You can recycle the textbooks, or a donation system possibly as well.
What about for textbooks that are new, that are being produced later, that people are writing, that keeps up with the new academia that's coming out? What would you say about that?
Yeah, that's a more profound question, because if we're losing our university bookshop, what the hell do we do? Who is our supplier of these things? So I'm just trying to figure out what can we do now. That is a bigger question than I can answer in 30 seconds.
Okay. Thank you. Our last question is that AUSA already frequently meets with student clubs on the student council. One of your policies was having more student meetings, and you kind of talked about this on your student voice. How is your policy proposal separate from these kind of student club meetings that AUSA already has?
Now, I forget the exact number, but I want to say, they're required to meet 4 or 6 times a year or something like that? Do you know the frequency of how often they have to meet?
For student council, I think Matthew can.
Student council or student consultative group?
Student council.
Student council, it's twice a year.
Twice a year.
In the Constitution, yeah.
So, see, that is a problem, because it should be every week.
We meet once a month.
Yeah. Okay, once a month. Well, it should be every week, because, frankly, once a month is not enough. That is not... so much elapses in 1 month. There's significant changes that can happen in a whole month. So that has to be regular. That has to be a frequent, constant, in the same place, publicly disclosed, so everyone knows where it is.
But do you think students who are volunteering their time would be willing to come to these weekly meetings?
Not all students. I think that's a fact, that there are some students who are more interested. There's students who are less interested. But that's relating to my whole campaign in general of that's why we need to make this political again. We actually need to bring politics back into AUSA. Instead of it being a manager of student voice, it needs to be a a genuine fighting institution that acknowledges that there is a conflicting relationship between students and the university when they jack up our prices, for example, when they increase our fees.
Your time is up.
Yeah.
And just final follow-up question, don't you believe this is putting more expectations on students rather than on the university and AUSA as the organization?
Yeah, so this is something that organizing as a socialist, organizing in the Palestine campaign as well, the power of collective action. If it's just 14 executives, you're never going to be able to do anything genuine, meaningful, and lasting. But if you're doing it with hundreds of people or thousands of people, in fact, I've got a paper here called Students in the Education Factory, written about the protests in the 90s against the introduction of course fees.
Thank you, candidate. Your time is up. Thank you so much, Josiah. We will now move to Matthew for the policy-related questions. Matthew, last year you were very forward with the publication of your policies and openly campaigning. This year we haven't heard very much from you. Could you explain why?
Oh, well, I just haven't been able to put them out yet. The election period hasn't actually started yet. But I have a list of policies that I'm working through right now. What I also want to do is make sure that the policies that I put out are actually actionable. And having been in this role for a year now, I have a better understanding of what is realistic, not just in terms of the powers of AUSA, but also the time commitment that is needed for each one of those policies. So what I'm doing right now is actually just looking at the things that I'm doing right now as the current UG EVP. What are the things I want to continue doing? What are some of the new initiatives I want to do within the capabilities of what I'm able to do?
Were there any policies from last year that you were campaigning for that you weren't able to do this year?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So there is one that I'm actually working on right now. So it's not that I will not be able to do it, but it's just it is a tricky one, and that's trying to introduce te reo courses for students. That was one of the things I really, really wanted to do last year because as a student, as a new student to university 4 years ago, that was something I was really looking forward to, and I just didn't have the ability to access. So what I'm doing right now is actually looking at the te reo revitalization strategy that the university has, which ends this year, and
Thank you, candidate.
see how
Your
we can
time is
extend
up.
that. Yeah.
Last year, you were also working a lot on the university Wi-Fi, but this wasn't action. Any comments on that?
Yes. So Wi-Fi continues to be a huge issue that students face today. What I can say is the university has actually put in a lot of money to improve the infrastructure of Wi-Fi. The problem is we're not seeing that improvement in the quality of Wi-Fi. A lot of times, especially during exam periods, Wi-Fi cuts down all the time. And so this is a problem that I've raised with university executives and the various committees that I've sat on multiple times. This is something that we're looking at. It's a lot more trickier than just...
Thank you, candidate. Your time is up.
Moving on to the next question. Could you tell us a little bit about what experiences that you've had this year that's led you to rerun for this election?
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of the role is actually the student voice, and I actually completely agree. We need to bring politics back into AUSA. That's why I'm really proud to be working on the Students' Manifesto right now, which will be a compilation of the issues that students really care about, including cost of living, housing, transport, that kind of stuff. And we will be elevating the student voice to the national level. That's something that I think is a huge privilege for me as a student representative to be able to do, and that's something that I want to continue doing next year as well.
Do you feel like elevating student voices to that national level will actually impact tangible, real change on the government? Or do you feel like that's kind of out of your power, I guess?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we can try our best to put our voices to the national level. Politicians will listen to us or they won't listen to us. What we do have the power of is voting. We are 47,000 students at the University of Auckland alone. A lot of the times we feel like politicians don't want to listen to us, and it's very easy to feel like we live in a very apathetic society, but we do actually have a lot of voice and a lot of power. And as the Student Association, I think we should be the spokesperson for students at a national level.
And to follow up with the political side of the conversation, political movements with AUSA, do you think AUSA should engage with specific political parties?
No, not political parties. I think we have 47,000 students at the University of Auckland. I think we need to do our best to represent all students, but there are issues that all students face. Things like the cost of housing, cost of public transport, cost of education, and so many more. These are the issues that we need to elevate, and the focus needs to be on the experiences of students and the issues that students face. If we start to align ourselves with political parties on either side, I think that takes away from the focus on students.
So what was your opinion on the collaborative post that AUSA posted this year in collaboration with the Young Labour?
Yeah, so you're referring to the Pay Equity Amendment Bill protest? Yeah, so that was actually an initiative from Princes Street Labour, which is a club on campus, obviously. And we had already been working internally amongst AUSA to be coming up with our response to the Pay Equity Amendment Bill, which we submitted against. And we had a statement against.
Thank you, candidate. Your time is
Yeah.
up. You must, next one.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Cool. So that's all that we have for the policies. Moving on to our next section, which is what's hot on campus. So these are the pressing issues that we think students are struggling with, or we know that students are struggling with on campus. And they really, these are areas that students want addressed. And I guess, so the first question is, what does transparency mean to you? Matthew?
Yeah, as student leaders, we have to be transparent. At the end of the day, we are a students' association. We are accountable to the students. So this year, we've published our operations plan. We've published our monthly reports. That means that students and student council have the ability to read us and scrutinize us and actually ask us why we're doing what we're doing or why we're not doing what we're doing.
An issue that's come up about the monthly reports is that it's quite hard to read because it's quite a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to make that more accessible? Because I think transparency and accessibility kind of go hand in hand.
Yes, 100%. Something that we've introduced in the last couple of months is actually enforcing quite a strict page limit on each executive's monthly report. But actually hand in hand with that is, we have the President's Corner this year, which I think has done really great work in transparency and accessibility. But I want to expand that to all executives to make sure that each executive has the ability to highlight what they've been doing and give the student body the ability to question each executive on what they've been doing as well.
Thank you, Ken. Your time is up. And we'll move to Josiah. So Josiah, how do you plan to translate the goal of more inclusive academic policies into concrete actions that will lead to real change for students from diverse backgrounds?
That's a big question. Can you say it again?
So how do you plan to translate the goal of more inclusive academic policies into concrete actions for students from diverse backgrounds?
So how do I plan to make policy that is inclusive and that, sorry, can you say, or can you make it bit more clear?
It's more so just thinking about the university's plan to implement more inclusive academic policies, but also about how AUSA and how your role as the undergraduate education vice president would kind of translate these policies into more concrete plans that would be actionable and have tangible outcomes.
Okay. So the university is making these inclusive policies, and then you're right. Okay. Well, I have no idea what these inclusive policies are. So maybe a point of information, can you tell me something about them?
This could be in regards to policies on AI. So this is this hypothetical question for next year, but it could be policies on AI or potential for students with different backgrounds and inclusive learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do I make them tangible? Yeah, I mean that's kind of like essentially why the university like pays us for that we're given an honorarium to be in the position, is to be able to try and give that input. I'm honestly not sure how, because I don't actually know what these policies are. I don't know what they've let out or introduced. So I don't know if I can comment on that, to be honest.
Thank you.
And I guess going back to that question that we asked Matthew, what are your views on transparency? What does it mean for you?
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely answer that question. I think. So yeah, like transparency means people know what is going on in the institution that they pay money to through the student levy. That means that they know how it functions. They know what is happening. Now, I've read some of these reports, and they're often actually pretty unreadable or difficult to read, or they don't actually have any context. They don't make any sense, and I think that is a problem. Fundamentally, how you solve transparency is you work with people, not for them. You include them in the whole process, and that way they know from the beginning to the end exactly what is happening.
What is your plan to include them from the beginning to the end?
And that's why I'm saying we need to have frequent meetings on campus that are open to everybody. Because if you make it so then, like, let's say my position as undergrad VP, if I were to, if the university were to come to me saying, oh, can you do this or can you do that, whatever, if I then go to students and say, hey, let's actually work on this together, let's build this plan together and you vote on it and then I will do what you vote for, that is transparency in action.
And I guess I just kind of have a question about what about the students that aren't really engaged on campus? Maybe students who can't come to campus or students who don't want to attend these meetings but still want their voices heard. How would you represent their views and voices?
Yeah, great question. And that's actually a genuine concern for a lot of international students. Being involved in politics often is highly risky because your academic standing is related to your visa. So if you lose academic standing, if the university kicks you out, you lose your visa and you have to leave the country. So it is actually a genuine and bigger problem than just people who can't come in on the bus. I would say make sure that people.
Thank you, candidate.
Yeah.
Your time is up.
Yeah.
And we'll switch back to Matthew. So Josiah talked about the frequency of the meetings. Do you agree with his proposed idea of weekly meetings between student reps? And if so, why has that not been implemented this year?
In terms of student council, I do want to just say that the student council representatives and the presidents of the different faculty associations work really hard every single day to represent students and create the best experience for students. Asking them to come to a 2-hour meeting every month is already adding quite a bit of workload. It's not just that 2 hours. They're doing a lot of work beforehand to make sure that they're prepared for that work. So I think actually we're getting a lot of value out of that. But of course we can improve and actually make that entire process better for everyone.
Thank you. And what sort of work specifically are they doing prior to those meetings?
Yeah. So obviously there are a lot of initiatives that come to Student Council from AUSA and from the university. What we ask the Student Council presidents to do is read the agenda beforehand, read the documents beforehand, and talk to the communities, their specific associations, and ask them what they think about things and to bring that feedback back to the table at Student Council. And afterwards as well. And of course we keep in contact in between meetings to make sure that we continue to have communications. Yeah.
Josiah, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. I mean, hearing the word value thrown around, value for who? For students or for the university, Is it students who are benefiting from this or is it the university? Because as I understand, the student consultative group, obviously they give policy inputs on how our levy, which is levied from our pockets, by the way, $1,109, I think it is, every single year, or every single semester. Is it every single year that's levied from our pockets? Yeah, money that is taken directly from our pockets that we have no input, really, no binding input on how that money is spent. So who is actually benefiting from this consultation? I don't think it's students.
Thank you, candidate.
Just to go back on that policy question, because we haven't asked you, Matthew, how do you plan to translate the goal of more inclusive academic policies into concrete actions that will lead to real change for students from diverse backgrounds?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said before, the executive includes portfolio positions that represent different communities. So oftentimes what we do is when we see a new policy or a policy change come in, we oftentimes talk to our colleagues on the executive, the different portfolio members that represent communities. How is this going to affect your community? And we take that back to the committees that we sit on. But more to that is, when we have a big policy that is going to create big change, we put it out to the student body to hear what they have to say and to bring that feedback back to the committees that we sit on as well.
Thank you. And one final question for this section of the debate. How will you ensure the continuity of your proposed initiatives after your term ends?
Matthew?
Do you mean like if I get reelected or if I don't?
Yes, if you get reelected, how would you ensure that it's continuity to the next individual?
So in 2027.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So obviously, the nature of student association executive is that it changes every year. It's really important, I think, to actually rely on the people who actually stay in the association, like the staff who have that continuity of knowledge. But also, what we're doing right now is building a 5-year strategy plan to make sure that actually we have a 5-year goal and a vision for 5 years, and that obviously we're not binding future executives, but we're giving them a bit of work, a bit of a foundation to work on to make sure that we're actually working collaboratively amongst the different years to do the best for our students.
Josiah?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
How will you ensure the continuity of your proposed initiatives after your term ends if you get elected?
Yep, no, great question. That is why, again, and I keep saying it, that is why a student movement that is independent, that acts outside of AUSA and for its own interest, is the only way that students can actually fight back against the changes that the university makes that affects them negatively. So it has to be independent of AUSA, a movement like, that's pushing back. It has to be, because now, if I had more time, I'd go into the history a little bit. I don't know if I do, but just very quickly, essentially, the student associations have not always been forces for good for students. Actually, they've often been forces for bad. They've often held back students. They've held back students' self-action. For example, there was a protest in 1996 where 5,000 students protested against the introduction of course fees and the increase of course fees.
Thank you, candidate. Your time is up. Just
Yep.
to follow up, when you're talking about outside AUSA, who would you give that power to, and would that be losing the purpose of AUSA?
I think AUSA exists because the university wants it to exist, so I don't think AUSA has any power. It exists because it has use to the university, firstly. Secondly, no, it would not be some sort of formless, movement of people. In fact, how it was done in the past is through direct election of candidates from the student base. So, for example, during some campus occupations, they elected 6 people to help organise those occupations.
Thank you, candidate.
Yeah.
Matthew, do you have any thoughts on that in terms of Josiah's answer to that question?
Yeah, student associations used to hold a lot of power, and that's because it was completely independent from the university, and still is completely independent from the university. What ties us to the university now is funding, and that is a question that I think a lot of people have on their minds, is why do we get funding from the university? And that's because essentially we have to. And this all goes back to voluntary student membership, which obviously we don't have enough time to talk about, but please look it up. Voluntary student membership is something that I've been actively fighting for this year, and we will continue to fight for next year. And that means that we're actually able to be financially independent from the university, and that we don't have the restraints that we currently have. But I do think that even within those restraints, we are doing the best that we can to represent students and fight for the best interests of students.
Okay, thank you. Moving on now to our rapid fire questions. Just to reiterate how this one works, we'll be asking you one question to both of you, and you guys have 10 seconds to answer, and it has to be 1 to 2 words.
Okay.
Cool. So we'll start with Josiah. Again, any word that comes out will be taken into account, and we'll move to the next candidate with 1 or 2 words. And again, 10 seconds. Describe the relationship between AUSA and the student body in 1 word.
Oh, it's complicated.
And Matthew?
Somewhat distant.
Matthew, yes or no? Do you think AUSA has done a good job representing the student body?
Better this year.
Yes or
Yes
no?
Yes-ish.
And Josiah?
Can I say more than just no?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes or no, Josiah? Do you believe the policies of your fellow candidates are strong?
Yeah, all right, yeah.
And Matthew?
Yeah, great vision.
So, to give some context to this question, AUSA is going through budget constraints. You have to cut one service that AUSA serves. Which service would you cut? Matthew? You have to cut one.
UBEC. Oh, wait.
You pick.
No.
Thank you. We're going to move to Josiah.
Yeah, I'd say.
Well, it's already
Oh, wait, actually, no, okay. I'll re-answer that. 95 BFM.
95 BFM. Josiah?
I mean, UBIC already.
It's
in
already cut,
liquidation.
so
Yeah, exactly.
something else.
Something else. Fuck, it's tough, eh?
That's the point of these questions.
Yeah. I mean, tough for students.
That's true.
There's no good answer. I don't think I can answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Describe the policies of your, of Matthew's policies in 1 word.
One word. Reformist.
Matthew, can you please describe Josiah's policies in 1 word?
Socialist.
And name the most impactful initiative AUSA has done this year. Matthew?
Student manifesto.
Josiah?
hardship fund. I don't know, it's not, maybe not this
Thank
year,
you. And specifically, a rapid fire question for you, Matthew. Name one thing you have failed to do for AUSA this year. 4 seconds.
Taking more stances on different things, yeah.
Thank you.
And Josiah, what do you think UOA has done well for their students this year?
hardship fund,
Okay,
you know.
thank you.
Thank you. And we will wrap up this session with just a 30-second statement from each candidate. Matthew, if you just start us off.
Yeah, well, really appreciated the opportunity to be here to discuss our visions for AUSA. All I want to say is just I've really enjoyed the job that I've had this year. I've had the privilege of representing students on different committees, reaching out to different communities in the student body, and also elevating the student voice to the national level, all the way from the university to government. And I really want to continue doing that for students.
Thank you. Josiah?
Yep, firstly, and I hope this doesn't get cut, this university needs to boycott, divest, and sanction the apartheid state of Israel. It is committing a genocide in Gaza, and that is one of the most important things that I am campaigning on. Secondly, students need to stand up. Students need to fight back against the university. They need to fight back against this government, which is giving tax cuts to landlords while slashing spending on university.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you, for joining us today. There are 2 other candidates who were invited to today's debate but were unable to attend. And thank you very much for joining the debates. Voting starts on the 18th of August and will end on the 29th of August. You can vote through the AUSA website or through their Instagram at AUSA.
Thank you. Kakite.